But now we're going to move on to the last set of the Team A games. This is going to be Lazersnipe versus Tempest. So it's going to be a PvZ.
Okay, gotcha.
And if I know anything about this game, I know just a tiny bit, this may make up for that TVT timing. Lazersnipe in the chat saying be gentle. Just for you, buddy.
Okay.
Alright.
In the top left, from Crossing Field, we've got our Protoss, Lazersnipe.
In the bottom right, we have the brown Zerg, Tempest.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've gotten a chance to cast Lazersnipe this season. I think I've just watched other people cast them. But...
Yeah, Lazersnipe, he has the distinction of being probably the lowest APM but high-level player in the league. He managed to get a lot done with very little APM. His PvZ is probably his weak point, so this is going to be an interesting match to see. You know, his PvT and PvP are quite strong, but I think his PvZ falls a little bit lower in the A-team ranks. So we'll have to see if Tempest can take advantage of that. I don't know too much about Tempest games. I've seen a couple of them. He seems like a fairly strong player, but you know, in the middle range of the A-team, I believe. And I don't know specifically what his ZVP is like.
Okay. Well, yeah, it seems like the further up you go, the harder. Just generally, when you're getting better Zergs, it's harder for Protoss and PvZ. So I think plenty of people have issues in PvZ.
Yeah, it seems, especially looking at the CPL games, it seems like that sort of balance flips where, you know, really early on when people are just starting at the game, Protoss just beat all Zergs because their units are much stronger and Zergs just lose battles without killing anything.
Yeah.
But then at some point, the skill level reaches where all of Zerg's options make it really hard for Protoss to adequately react, and they start taking away. I think at the A-team level generally, most Protosses have trouble with Zerg.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at the lower levels, Protoss have a easier time, both in versus Terran and versus Zerg, and then it definitely flips in PvZ. At the top level, I guess it flips in TVP, sort of, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, it changes again once you're talking about, you know, beyond CPL level. Then it really becomes a totally different game. But I think.
Well, yeah. That's
yeah. At this level,
pretty much is a different game.
oh, for sure. At this level, I think it's still it is tough for a lot of Protosses. We do have both players looking like they're going fairly standard. There is a gate first, which on this map is very standard because that lets you get your tech out and expansion.
Front hatch being blocked by Lazersnipe.
So that's always a good move.
Okay, it does get up. Yeah, this map you can't forge FE. Well, you can, but it seems more natural to go gate and block with Zealots.
Yeah, we actually saw a lot of games in PvZ where Protoss does opt to go for a forge FE, but it's incredibly risky. And actually, Tempest is going to be able to take out that probe. Just a moment of non-attention there is going to go to the first 4 Zealots, or 4 Zerglings rather.
6.
Now there are 6, yes. But like we were saying, you can't wall very well, and there's 2 routes into the natural. So versus Zerglings, the standard like 1 or 2 gap wall is just not possible. It makes it very risky to go for that build.
Wait a second.
But Protoss opting to go for the gateway expand, just having Zealots block the ramp, means that he's going to be able to have tech out a little bit faster than a standard Forge FE, and still have that back natural, so he's still going to be on 2 versus 3 base.
Yeah, and so we did have him build, he built the first 4, and then he built the 6. So that's a little more, I mean, it's not like a ton, but it's a little, most of the time you'll either shoot the 2 or the 6.
Yeah, it's interesting to go for 6 Zerglings here. I mean,
Tech-
on this...
tech- Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you kind of expect that ramp to be blocked, in which case your 6 Zerglings aren't going to do anything.
Technically, you can go for some sort of interesting, like a drone drill type thing, but you don't really see it on this when they're blocking with the zealots.
Now we do have 5 hatches out as well. That's interesting. So he's opting for the later lair style, going for 5 hatches before lair. And Laser is going to push out with initial 4 zealots, so he's going to force some Zerglings here. I would imagine speed is on the way or done. It's actually not. Oh, because he didn't opt to go for the earlier gas, going for the 5 hatches. His speed is going to be significantly delayed here, which means that that's a perfectly safe move for Laser to have done, and he's going to force some defenses.
Yeah, we've got... Well, yeah, and he just walks back now after forcing the defenses. Stargate is coming up, but it hasn't built a Corsair yet.
Oh, and I like that. It sounded like Tempest was morphing his colony into a sunken, and then realized that the attack should have been here by now and canceled it. But he did force quite a few Zerglings, and you know, this is the kind of move that you really need to make as Protoss. That's econ damage without ever doing an attack. That's a lot of Zerglings. How many is that?
And let's see how many get spotted here.
Looks like that probe scout is going around the other way, so he's not going to see this until it's at his front door. He has enough zealots to fight this, especially on the ramp, but if he opts for another move out, it could be bad for him.
Yeah, if we do see the speed coming up, which it's only about a third done, then you could see some sort of speed Zergling slip into the main, something like that. We do have the first Corsair coming out, flying straight across the map. What is it going to see? It's going to see 1 Zergling mid-map. It's going to see, okay, it sees a couple heading across. So, could be some danger. Okay, we have the probe is in, taken out by the Hydra. First Hydra at the front. So he's going to see lair, a third finished, and Hydra's popping out.
Yeah, but we do have a small move out as well. These Zealots are going to be able to trade decently, but there is enough Zerglings here, I think they're going to be able to take these out.
Yeah, with a single Hydra support. But we do have 2 Zealots still sitting on the ramp. And a third Zealot right here.
Yeah, first Corsair also gets a kill, and has a full scout of the base, sees the drone saturation, sees the Hydra count.
He could lose it though. He could lose it.
That's a little inattention there. That is a big loss to lose that first Corsair.
Yeah. Okay, Lair is about to finish. Lair has finished. Now. So let's see what he does here. Is he going to go for a Lurker? Obviously, he already has a decent amount of Hydras out, so it's going to be hard for Lazersnipe to take a third without getting, you know... Okay, Storm is about halfway done.
Yeah, the Corsair seemed a little late. The Storm timing's decent. In general, Laser's tech is just a little bit behind where it could be, since he really hasn't taken any real harassment damage. Tempest is going to attack this egg. Not really sure what the deal is there. But 2 DTs are out, so they could potentially kill all the Zerglings, maybe do some damage to the Hydras, although you might want to run them past. It looks like he's going to get more hits than he really should, but now Tempest at least knows the DTs are on the map, so he's probably going to tighten his defenses.
Overlord speed is more than halfway done, so that will likely be how he deals with this. Obviously, he's going to force him back for now. Heavy droning coming out of Tempest at the moment. Yeah,
I like to see that. He needs to send some of these to his back natural, but he's recovering from making so many of those Zerglings early on, and that now he's in a decent economy. But behind this, Laser's actually managed to take his expansion with just that threat of GT. And that's one of the risks when you go for the later layer. You're not going to have the Overlord speed. So at the very least, you should probably send an Overlord down to their front natural, just so that you can hold that position versus 2 DTs, because that would have delayed this Nexus quite a bit.
Speed Overlords have finished. As we can see, there's 1 Overlord heading down sort of near the front natural. There's actually nothing that hits air here other than his 1 Corsair in his main.
Yeah, so the muted threat is real. He scouted with the Corsair and saw that there was no Spire at that timing, but obviously that has been a decent amount of time ago. So the Spire is now finished. And I would like to see Laser continue to make some more Corsairs, or get some pylons in the or some cannons in the midline.
We do have the DT trying to block the 4th. There's not an okay, Overlord's just coming up. But the DT's gonna slip out. So that's nice for Lazersnipe. The DT actually
really,
taking it.
really nice move. Just having that DT out on the map is just a headache that Zerg has to deal with. So being able to keep that alive is a big deal. Drone is going to come with his full entourage of Hydras guarding him, so that 4th is going to start. But at this point, the 3rd is up and running for Lazersnipe. The Maynard is just now happening, so he's in a good economic position here.
Yeah, definitely, and he's not floating too much. I noticed a little. He does have 5 probes in his back net, but that's fine. He's got good amount of probes at every single base, so.
Now, both armies going to meet in the middle here. Not sure exactly if this is going to go. I mean, it's really going to come down to storms in terms of how efficient this trade is going to be. And there are overlords here, so the DTs aren't going to be that effective. Big storm on all the zealots, actually.
Yeah.
So not the greatest trade at the end of that. But Laser does manage to push the Hydras back. I would imagine there's plenty sitting at the rally in a second. Oh, we have the Muta switch. That's interesting timing. That could be pretty effective.
We only have a single Corsair, and none building, and we have 1 cannon at the main and back net. He is going to be able to cancel this 4th base though.
Yeah, so that makes it an effective attack right off the bat. It looks like the Muta switch was not full. There was only about 2 or 3 Mutas.
Ooh, no more. More Mutas coming in. They're sniping the High Templar.
Yeah, that's a big pickoff. There is an Archon, so we will be able to chase these Mutas around, but these Zealots are getting in here, and this is a complicated fight now because, depending on what happens with this Archon and Muta, these Zealots could do a ton of damage if they're just left uncontested.
Ooh, there's no Sunken though, and the Archon is targeting Overlords.
Yeah, now switching to some Mutas is going to actually go down. But
he spread the Mutas a little bit there.
Yeah, that latest attack was not great. If Laser had just pulled back after taking out the 4th, he would be in a much better spot here. But as it is, he's still ahead, just by virtue of having more bases.
And he does still have he has the DT back up at the 4th, so it can pick off a drone if it tries to take that base again.
Yep. Tempest is going to try to get as much done with these Mutas as possible, which I really like.
We have the drone coming up. Let's see if the DT picks off at the 4th.
Yep, another delay, so just getting farther and farther ahead economically. A single Corsair, and only a single cannon in the main, so these Mutas could be pretty devastating depending on how they play with these Archons.
Ooh, if we could see a storm. Okay, we do have 2 Archons into the main, but they're going to have to chase down the Mutas.
Oh, the Muta's actually standing still, getting a couple of hits. That's going to put them pretty low. They can really only take just maybe 3 more hits from Archons.
Ooh,
There's 2
cannons. A couple
cannons
at the back.
So he did probe damage. He's going to actually get out with 9 Mutas, which is plenty to do Templar snipes, but he certainly can't go into the base and do much harassment now.
But looking at the macro, we've got pretty good macro. Obviously, both are floating a bit, but based off, supply-wise, we've got pretty good macro coming out of Tempest.
Yeah, he's in a decent spot for an attack, but, attacking into a fortified Zerg or Protoss position with how many Templar of Storms? I see 5 Templar, most with 1 Storm, some with 2, I think. That's going to be really tough.
Yeah, because right now he has this unit advantage, but economically, Laser's in a better position. So,
yeah, I think he knows that 4th's been delayed enough that he has to get some damage done. So he's feeling the pressure. But this is so hard to break, and it looks like, there's 4 cannons, there's so many storms. Tempest is absolutely going to lose a lot pushing into this, and he has to be very careful. He's going to set up just to contain, which I kind of like, trying to take his 4th finally. But, this contain is not very strong yet, and if Laser sniffs this out and tries to push out before it gets super strong, Tempest is just going to he's going to have nothing on the map.
Yeah, Laser sees slightly a couple Hydras and things, and sees the group of Muta.
Ooh, nice storm. A great second storm follow-up. All of the Mutas getting super hurt. Only 2 left with no health at all.
And now we've got Hydras being auto Okay, but we don't have the first observer out yet. The first observer's just being built.
Oh,
So
good look.
can't...
That's actually an extremely late observer. So that's a big mistake out from Laser. But unfortunately, I think that's going to lull Tempest into a false sense of security. Like, the only reason Laser isn't pushing out is because that observer doesn't exist yet. Once that obs is out, he's going to have to snipe it to stay alive here.
Yeah, those mutas were a pretty big chunk of supply, where it was looking like, ooh, good storm. Okay, we do have the Overlord out now, and the Dragoons.
Yeah, we're gonna sack two mutas, gonna force a storm out, so I guess that's worth it. You know, once you have only 2 mutas, they're not that useful. But we're gonna.
Yeah, I'd like to see some Scourge coming up. Try to snipe the, you know, because obviously he's not producing observers. They don't come out particularly fast.
Yeah, and goons can't target Scourge very quickly either. The goons are not trading very well, but they are setting up enough for the storms to get in range, and a couple of really fat storms going down. It looks like Tempest might just barely hold this. A couple more goons coming to join the fight. It's going to be really close.
Yeah, because none of these observers are going down. We've still got 3 observers alive here.
Yeah, just a couple of those storms were a little too good. So these 3 goons are going to be able to take out these lurkers, although the obs were too far back, so they were just getting pot-shotted. And will just barely go down. So we got reinforcement versus reinforcement now. Both players totally traded their standing armies.
Actually, if we don't... Okay, that was a really good storm, but I was going to say this unit composition isn't the best for fighting Hydras. You need some zealots there. But, overall, I'd say that really didn't do enough for Tempest. Laser's still in a better position.
Yeah, I think you have to give up this forward position once you get to that point, and just sort of turtle with lurkers to try to get back into the game. He has managed to get his 4th base up and running during all of this, so that's his only saving grace here. But looks like Laser's just gonna bypass the army and start his own 5th, or actually that's his 4th. Sorry.
Yeah, 4th. Yeah, I think it becomes much harder for Toss once it gets a really nice position in these. I don't know what the word, sort of like 11 o'clock top and 5 o'clock bottom bases. Once you get those turtled up with, you know, like sunken spore lurker and that sort of stuff, where you can't just storm all of it, it becomes really hard for Protoss to do anything about those bases.
Yeah, we have Laser trying to push out again here. Zealots are in front though. Oh my god, the storms are massive, and that is not good for Tempest.
I was gonna say, if you can get like lurkers and hydras on this ramp, you can trade better than usual against the Protoss, but those storms were massive. 2 really huge storms.
Yeah, and it looks like Tempest is going to try to get that 5th expansion up a little faster, and so I think turtling is definitely the way to go based on the way this game's gone. So I just don't think he should have been up there with all of those units, and at the very least, like you said, make that position on the high ground, so at least the units have to get in range before they can do damage.
We do have... He did do a decent amount of damage to this 4th for Lazersnipe before it morphed, actually. So it's at about half health. If you can get, you know, if you can get Dark Swarm, if you can get Cracklings... Okay, actually, Tempest sees where this Protoss army is moving and cancels the base.
And that's kind of funny, because I don't think Laser even knew about that base. He was just trying to get a position up here on the 4th. So he might have been able to finish that. But there is a counterattack at that hurt natural, or the hurt 4th base for Laser. So this might go down if he can target it. But they might just trade 4ths here.
Which would be worse for the Zerg.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially if they don't trade armies along with it.
We're getting sort of a surround here by Tempest.
That is really nice unit movement, and there's actually not enough here. The storms are a little late too, and they're not going to be able to take out the lurkers. So
the 4th does not go down for Lazersnipe though, but it's much more vulnerable than the 4th is for Tempest. And that was, really good positioning on those lurkers. and we've just got a one High Templar lost for nothing. And the fifth base is going to come back up at this 11 o'clock position.
Yeah, you know, if
So
Tempest
actually,
hadn't
it was
canceled,
never seen.
it was never seen. If he hadn't canceled that, it would have been finished by now. And Tempest would actually be in a great position. If he gets drones there and gets some defenses there, he would be back in this game, maybe even in the lead. But by canceling that, it's not necessarily true. He's probably still going to be falling behind as time goes on.
Okay, and now we've got a bunch of cans coming up, which means I think the time for harassing this base until Defiler is it's sort of not going to be worth it.
Yep. Now Defiler Mound is out, so Defiler
and
attacks.
Research and Consume.
Yep, they are coming, but it looks like there are a few Zealots as well as a Storm. So Swarm doesn't kill everything. The space is still adequately defended. If Laser switches into some Reavers as well, he's actually got the Robo there, just ready to start producing those. It's gonna be very hard to take this base down.
Yeah, we do have the support bay at the back natural. So, double Reaver being produced here. So he knows, he's building the right sort of units for defending this. And obviously, if you have a couple Storms, that can take out cracklings and things like that.
Yeah, now Tempest. Yep, he is actually sending drones there as well, so it's going to be mining immediately. I would almost like to see a Nidus here too. It's just so far from the rest of the bases that if you can Nidus units in, it's going to help the defense quite a bit. Opting to make only creep colonies for now. We'll see if he changes his mind and makes a Nidus. But
yeah,
the game is sort of stabilized into a fairly even position now. I still gotta say Laser's probably a little bit ahead just based on some of the earlier exchanges. But
yeah, how late the economy has sort of gotten going for Tempest.
Exactly.
But if he's able to hold his base and deny this bottom base, then that's where Tempest can win it.
Yep, and with Defiler and Hive Tech out now, the Zerg army gets a lot scarier. So if his Defiler play is strong enough, I could see Tempest taking this game still.
If he engages into this Protoss army on the ramp, though, it could be rough.
Yeah, that's a lot of Storms that are going to be able to come down. A couple of clumped Lurkers, not too bad. Some of the Storms actually whiff, but there are Lurkers under Swarm now. They're going to all die to Storm, it looks like.
Oh
my god. Laser Storms have been on point.
I'd like to see a Plague come. Okay, Defiler goes down. Okay, we do have a bunch of Sunkens and things, but I think you're going to need Lurkers as well, and Dark Swarm. Yeah, definitely the Nidus makes defending bases like this so much more efficient.
Yeah, a Nidus would have been key, because at the very least, you can stall things out until you have a giant flank prepared. You can send those key units like Defilers over to keep Swarms up. But there's a single Lurker down here, a few Zerglings, and some colonies. Like, that is not nearly enough for almost a max Protoss army.
Especially since these Dragoons can attack some of these Sunkens from high ground, which means there's mischance for the Sunkens and not for the Dragoons.
Yep, it's a great point. We do have a flood of Zerglings coming in to reinforce. There's actually almost no Zealots left, so Tempest might be able to save this. It's going to come down to Storms on these Lurkers.
Good Storm on the Lurkers.
Looks like the Ob is actually out of range, so Snipe is going to pull back just a little bit here, but this base is still under siege. It looks like there's 3 Reavers now at the 4th for Laser, so any counterattacks there are likely not going to be very effective.
And we've got really 2 Reavers at the natural as well.
Oh yeah, he's playing full-on Turtle Protoss. Really efficient second Storm there, taking out 2 Lurkers. And there's some more units coming in from Tempest, but will they be in time?
Yeah, I'd like to see him space the Lurkers a little better. Like, when you can hit them with a single Storm, it's... obviously that's not as good.
Yeah, and that's one of the tough things about...
a lot of reinforcement, though, streaming up from... I think this will get wiped from Lazersnipe. I don't think he's going to take out the base here.
It's going to be tough. If he really positioned those Zealots to help guard the ramp, I think he might have been able to hold it, but he's at least taking some drone damage in, so he's trading army for drones, which at this stage of the game is probably a decent trade. You never really want to lose your army as Protoss, but since he had the economic lead anyway, I think this is fine.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a ton of probes about to be transferred to the 4th. A lot of his supplies in Reaver, though.
Yeah, and
When you've got that many
they're
Reavers,
stationary
that's-
Reavers. You know, they don't have a shuttle to go along with them.
Yeah.
So that is
Obviously,
giving
he can
Tempest the
remedy
opportunity.
Obviously he can't. He's got his first shuttles coming out now, but until he has like, obviously you want speed shuttle. If we've got Scourge flying around, then that can be a big momentum boost for the Zerg if they take him out with Scourge, because obviously that's very efficient.
Yeah, totally. I want to go back to your point earlier of what you were saying about spread out lurkers. That's kind of the problem when Protoss takes the position first, is that you're moving your lurkers into them, and trying to move lurkers into a spread position is really mechanically difficult. So
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons to have the Nidus down at the base, because then at the very least you can have lurkers spread in that location. And when Protoss finally commit to going down that ramp, they're fighting spread lurkers, and you can come in with a flank behind.
Although one positive, like you mentioned, when you're killing those drones, it means that the Zerg is producing drones to rebuild their like drone supply. Okay, we have Lazersnipe trying to take this bottom base, but Zerglings are going to be able to come down here. They should be able to take this out pretty easy.
Great job having an Overlord there just to be able to see that. Does cancel the Nexus, so not too big of a deal there in terms of minerals lost. But Lazersnipe is going to mine out fairly soon, so he needs that base.
We've got double speed shuttle with double Reaver, so this is a potent. I think it's going to come down to if Lazersnipe can take this bottom base. This is going to be a point of contention. Do we have a drop coming in? It looks like we do.
Oh, that's definitely a drop. That could do a lot of damage. There's not nearly enough Corsairs to defend this.
We actually have drones in here with the Defiler. I think that's
a mistake. That's fine. Drones could fight too.
Yeah, we're gonna get a proxy hatch in the base in the 27th minute.
Yep. This is not a very strong drop. There's only a few Zerglings, one Lurker, and one Defiler. So, a couple of Zealots are going to be able to take this out. One Swarm is down, and the Zerglings are going to be able to do some more damage.
He's actually going... Okay,
This game's getting sloppy.
Yeah.
Got fights all over the map now. Looks like the bulk of...
Lazersnipe is just deciding not to clean this up.
Yeah.
It's one Zergling. There are two Zerglings and a Lurker. And
once the
drones.
Swarm runs out, those Zerglings will die to the cannon, and that Lurker's really not doing anything. So, not a ton of damage, got 2 gateways, maybe got a few units as well, it's not a big deal. Yeah, I think really it's a matter of distraction, it's a matter of, how much these players can focus on at the moment.
Maybe he brought those drones to consume, since he consumed them.
I mean, getting a plague on the pylon battery might be something. Set up for a second drop. But Laser is committing. He's committing his full army now to taking that bottom base, because he knows he's almost mined out. He just needs to split map here, and he'll be okay.
Because no one takes these middle bases on the.
You really can't. It's so tough. Because you can just get sniped from above. The drone transfer. What is this?
To a base that doesn't exist. And he has Overlord, an Overlord seeing this, so I'm not sure why he was transferring drones there. So
he's sending Zerglings down here, but yeah, I was gonna say you can't actually just attack into this. You need to make sure it's a very coordinated attack. Because
actually, if he can slip by this, there's this observer mid-map, but if he can slip by that, he could engage from a couple angles here.
You can absolutely set up a strong flank, and that's what he should be doing. But this is do or die. Like, if he loses this fight, he's going to be in serious trouble.
Okay, the good observer spread sees a couple units moving down. Ooh, it loses a Defiler for nothing.
Yeah, he got a Plague off, but it really only hit 3 or 4 units. Not the best trade. Yeah, including an Archon.
And a lot of cannons are going to come up here, but obviously, if he gets in a position where he can... man, we've got a big bank from Tempest. I'm just noticing.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. His macro has been good most of the game.
More macro hatches, I think.
I think at this point he has enough hatches, but you're at that stage where they're all spread out across multiple bases, so it is really hard to use them. Looks like he is going to be moving in now. The Defiler's gonna get a decent plague this time.
Okay, yeah, that's a good plague. Because softening up those zealots makes the lurkers just absolutely shred them.
But he's got to go through these Archons and Reavers. That's the real bulk of his army. Another plague on the Reavers would be key. He's gonna go for the Swarm, but actually the Zerglings are now fighting out of it in an amazing storm. It's gonna take most of them out. Clumped Lurkers, that hurts a lot. Some Scourge coming in, but they're actually just gonna park on top of the Archons. So really just sort of a miscontrol there, and everything gets wiped out. We have a lot of reinforcements coming in, and the Swarms are still up, so it's possible we could whittle this down, but there's so many Storms left.
Yeah, and the Hydras aren't gonna do anything under the...
Yeah, they can't even kill the Reaver. So this is really just Zerglings until the Swarm is over.
Okay, we do have the Swarm ending so that the finally he can kill these Reavers. Actually, the Swarm is helping the Reavers. He did lose the Reavers, but there's so many Archons and you know, against Zergling heavy compositions, which is what we've got coming out of Tempest at the moment. Archon Reaver, High Templar, like you're just the Zerglings are not really doing anything.
Yeah, you can't trade efficiently versus that as a Zergling army. So he's managed to trade army a little bit, but you can't be trading right now. Like he had to bust through at that time. At this point, he's got to go for some sort of attack in the main and just kill all of the tech and production or something else. But this position is now defended. Looks like Tempest is going to go for one of those middle bases, so he's just going to bank on being able to hold that.
Okay, we've got a drop coming in. He's loading up with Zerglings, Defiler. Okay, he's taking a middle base. This is seen by the Observer.
Yep, Snipe knows about it. He's looking like he's going to commit most of his army to defending down here on the bottom, but at some point I expect to see him attack that position. The base isn't quite done, but drones have been sent to distance mine since Tempest really just needs the income.
Yeah, you know, I know it's not a small army, but it definitely doesn't feel as large when you've got this much supply invested in Reaver.
Yeah, and this drop is going to be fairly effective. He didn't do it on top of the Reavers since the Reavers were a little far back. If he had a few more Overlords to sort of soak the damage and maybe got a couple Swarms down even, that could have done a lot. But unfortunately, it really just killed a single cannon.
Yeah, and the Archons got down there and then... Okay, we might see him swarm the front, but there's a Reaver there. Okay, no, he pulls back.
Yeah, Laser's basically defended at every base.
I think the main is pretty lightly defended. I think he could destroy all the tech and the gates and make it a chore to bring the units up and defend if he drops there.
When you're playing this kind of turtle style, you just have to find the hole in the defense, and I think you're totally right. Right now, that's just the main. You could maybe do like a lurker drop and kill all these probes.
Okay, we're gonna have to see. These zealots could get really shredded.
Yeah,
here.
that's a lot of lurkers to contend with, so they do intelligently pull back. But we're entering a mined out situation fairly soon here. Both players are on basically 1 versus 2 base. I just worry that the Zerg has been trading kind of inefficiently in the last couple of minutes. So as we get into this super late game situation,
big storm on the mineral only wipes out all the drones.
Oh,
that
is rough.
Takes out 9 drones.
That's half of the economy of Tempest too.
Uh-huh.
And actually, Laser is gonna contest this top base, even though the bottom base. No, he's changing his mind. His army's getting a little confused, but he is gonna come down, collapse.
These lurkers.
Yeah, he gets the swarm up, but the storm is there as well, and all 3 lurkers go down.
All of the zealots were still wiped by that though.
Yeah, I guess that's a decent trade. The reinforcements are decently strong, but 2 Reavers are here. They don't have Scarabs. Oh, that is a big mistake.
Yeah, that's big. Archons under Dark Swarm aren't taking damage, but they decide to move out to oblige the Zerg.
Yeah, and actually Tempest manages to hold the base. He took a lot of drone damage just from the storms earlier. But this is just such a scrappy game. I really don't know how to call it because I don't think Tempest can break anything.
Yeah, the mineral bank for him is quite small. As it was, I mean, you can look at the top base. He's got a lot of idle drones there. should send those over to the mineral only. He really could claim this bottom mineral only.
Yeah, there's really no reason to not take both bases if you're trying to take one.
Yeah. Because it's sort of, he's naturally pushing this over and over again. If he's losing that position, he's probably losing the game anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't lose the middle at all at this point. We do have another attack coming down into the bottom. There are
a ton of Archons coming up.
There's also 2 Reavers and 2 High Templar with a lot of Storm. So even though there's Swarm, it's not going to be that effective. Massive Scarab and Storm.
Ooh, big Plague though, look at that.
Oh, coming in with a drop as well, and this time he is going to try to get on top of the Reavers. It looks like a good Storm, but that's actually going to hit the Reavers too. And the Reavers are barely going to survive it. A lot of Overlords going down. At this stage of the game, that's actually pretty impactful.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to replace. And a Lurker going down for nothing. Okay, he needs to turn these units back now. One Lurker with a Defiler isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, he's got a lot of units still heading down south, but now Laser's actually turned his army to that side too. He's been surviving just on the units that were stationed there, and now once this army comes down, there's really no way the Tempest can take this position.
Man, yeah, look at the amount of Archons here.
Yeah, well, Laser does have quite a bit of gas. He can still produce those, and as the game continues, you know, gas is unlimited essentially.
Yeah, you can deplete it, but you're still going to be mining 2 by 2.
Great Plague there.
Plague. Yeah, that's a big Plague. But, you know, these Reavers are just getting cost efficiency when they're sitting. They'll trade a couple Scarabs for a Lurker. Because, you know, that's 75 minerals plus 100 minerals. Lurkers are pretty costly to be using for free.
Yep, and in this situation, like super late game, it's all about cost effectiveness right now. Like, it's not really about total production.
Big Mutaswitch.
Ooh, a Mutaswitch is an interesting choice when you see this many Archons. I guess you can micro them to victory,
Reaver.
but it's going to be risky.
Yeah, he could snipe Reaver, he could snipe High
Oh,
Templar.
he's going Guardian. He's going to try to take this exposed mineral line, but, you know, a few storms.
I think that's a good move, though. There's no High Templar sitting here at the moment. Oh, there's one. But there's not Corsairs or anything.
Yeah, he could take Laser by surprise.
He's going to lose this bottom middle piece. But,
yeah, actually losing a Defiler there as well. So all those little losses are adding up. And Laser at this point is actually max, so he can go for trades without fearing too much. Guardian's coming in. Let's see what kind of response Laser has. He's like, losing a lot of probes.
Let's see what kind of spread he's got here on these. He does lose 1 to cannons, but if he spreads them appropriately, then there's not even storms can't really take that out. Okay. Oh.
He's losing so many probes. And this is his only mining as well. Looks like he's actually just committing to the attack, or is that's just units kind of getting autopathed up there? Almost all the probes for Laser are dead. The High Templar are just doing a little dance. He's getting some decent storms, but like you said, the spread is good. There are most of the Guardians go down. There's still 2 left. One might go down to this cannon, but almost all the probes are dead. Laser's basically not mining.
Uh-huh. Yeah, look at that mineral count. It's not going up for Lazersnipe.
But at the same time, this is an almost unstoppable force bearing on this last base from Tempest. I guess he's still barely mining from the top base, but that's almost out.
We could see, if we see sniping of the observers, I think that's a way that you can see Tempest win this. And he's got a lot of Scourge here.
He's got a lot of Scourge, but he has to navigate those observers past an Archon, or navigate the Scourge past an Archon, and there are quite a few of them. I see 3 just sitting there. There's probably a few more nearby.
Oh man, these Reavers are killing drones now at this point. You're gonna have to see, that's so many Reavers.
Oh, Tempest is bringing everything he has to bear on this, actually getting burrowed right on top of the Reavers, going to be able to take at least 1 out. But the others still remain, and I don't know if he's going to be able to save this base. He's losing a lot of drones. He doesn't have much that he can contend with. But meanwhile, Snipe is barely mining, so every one of these Scarabs is costing quite a bit. Oh, it takes one out with just pure Zergling. And the other one's actually pathed into Sunken Range. He's going to go down. So that's 2 Reavers almost for free there. That is a crazy turn of events.
Plague on that one. Plague on that Reaver. So there's one Reaver left and it's plagued. Ooh. Oh!
The
and
Muta's gonna kick it out.
Muta.
Oh my god, the single Muta switch. That is next level. Gonna storm the remaining drones.
So much gas that we've got, so much gas left compared to minerals, we've got a bunch of defilers coming out.
This game is crazy.
I think the difference here is that, although he's barely holding this... Okay, actually, we've got 3 Reavers here now. Ooh, but the shuttles are gonna go down. Oh, not all of them. There's one... He can take this out with the Scourge that's sitting here.
Yeah, they're just kind of looking at each other. But it looks like the base is gonna go down. Tempest does not have anything to defend with, and he's actually out of mins. So he can't actually replace this base. He's gonna have to long distance mine to get a hold of it.
Yeah, he's got 140 minerals at the top base.
That is a rough situation. So this is it. This is the end of the game. If he can clear out this mid, he could potentially long distance mine and stay in it. But even though Laser took a lot of probe damage, he's got a lot of mins still that are safe for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if we see him take out... Okay, he's got a big... He's loading up.
He's going to try to drop right on top of the Reavers, I think, which is a great call. Laser's actually picking up 2 of his Reavers, but now Scourge are on the chase. He's going to storm the Scourge, but they actually stop right in front of it. So both players microing their life. Oh my god. And he had another storm. All of the Overlords go down. I think he had mostly units.
Supply. He had 15 supply inside of those, which means... You know, for a Zerg, that's a decent amount of units.
Yeah, that's basically game ending. I mean, Tempest can't make more units at the moment. He's gonna get a decent kill on some High Templar here, but, you know, when you're only microing a couple of Zergling, yeah, the game has gone south.
He might long distance mine.
It's his only choice. He has to start mining from something, and that's the only minerals that he can even pretend to take. But meanwhile, Laser's got mineral income. He's actually building some scouts. I'm not sure if that's quite appropriate, but there are 2 scouts on the field.
Well, I actually think that's anti-drop. You can arguably better against drops, single overlords than the Corsairs at this point.
And
although
I guess
they
it
are
also
quite expensive.
It forces Hydras, right? Because if you manage to kill Hydras and there's only like Lurker Zergling, scouts are just uncontested. But now it looks like Laser is going to move in, take out the remaining defenses here, and just say you're not taking these minerals, and that is GG. Massive game, as close as you can get. I think Laser was ahead for most of it, but Tempest made some really good moves there, almost came back. Just a crazy late game.
Yeah, I felt like if he had gone, instead of spending so much on trying to break that bottom base purely with ground units, if he had gone to that Guardian option a little earlier, obviously that was quite successful. Yeah,
I think he really lost the game right at the turn where he was throwing away units in inefficient trades. I mean, that sort of thing, you're going to have inefficient trades ZVP, but you have to make sure that at the end of it, you take out a base or you take out the army. And he wasn't that successful.
Definitely. Yeah, that's where I felt it sort of became... Obviously, Lazersnipe had the economic advantage for most of the game, getting his 3rd up, you know, quickly and unharassed, and then denying the 4th over, you know, a couple times.
Yeah, he denied that 4th quite a few times, and that was really what put him in that late game situation, where he could take some of those fights.
But once we see Lazersnipe get up that 5th base and even on bases and able to hold it, that's where we saw we have a random guy in the.
Oh, it's Monkey Fan. Sorry, dude.
What was I saying? Once we had him get the 5th base and get even on bases, once he was able to hold it, you know, that's you can't. The Zerg can't be having the Protoss even on bases with him, even if he had the mineral only for a bit.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're gonna go into game 2 now of these guys. That was only game 1. We now are on Fighting Spirit for set number 2, and Tempest is the blue Zerg in the upper left corner.
And in the bottom right are red Protoss, winner of game 1, Lazersnipe.
So cross positions, I think that generally will favor Zerg, unless they're going to go for something cheesy. But you know, this matchup, the basics tend to be that Zerg are trying to get into that hive, like super strong Zerg late game engine, and just overrun the Protoss at that stage. So anything that they can do to survive earlier in the game is better for them.
You think so?
I think so. You know, especially based on what we just saw, like both of these players tend to go for that standard play. Maybe that was just crossing fields, but you know, if things do get to a completely even game, super late game, the mobility and the tech of Zerg is just really tough for Protoss to deal with. So I think a lot of times that is sort of Zerg's gameplay.
I think what were you saying?
Well, just saying there's the potential to be aggressive, and a lot of Zergs do play that way, but it looks like these two players are not that kind of player.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it definitely feels like these are more macro oriented players. But I feel like the impetus is on the Protoss to limit the Zerg's. Well, yeah, I guess sort of limit the Zerg's growth in the early to mid game. They need to get obviously their base up themselves with like their forge, or their gateway opening, depending on. What do we have this probe scouting in the middle? Interesting.
Yeah, so I think that was just a second scout in case the first scout didn't see him. That lets you get a second probe at the Zerg base around the time fast Zerglings would be showing up.
Oh yeah. I just realized that wasn't the first probe sent out. I realized it after. But yeah, obviously the Zerg can get aggressive right off the bat with, you know, this isn't what that is, but they could.
Yep,
so it looks like he'll go for sixlings again right off the bat.
Sixling opening makes a little more sense on Fighting Spirit because you're not expecting just zealots on a ramp. But because it is cross position, there's no chance that these guys are going to do damage. The full wall is basically up, the cannon will be up in plenty of time, and it doesn't actually look like Tempest knows where the base is yet, so he didn't opt to drone scout.
Yeah. But still a pretty standard open. We're just going to have the third hatch come up at the 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
now,
it's not...
there is also a divergence on Tempest's side, so you know, Snipe's going to go for Forge FE since this map allows for it. Tempest is going to go for that fast layer, sort of the 3-hatch layer style, probably into 5-hatch. But that's a general timing for that gas if you're going to go for the layer, whereas last time he went for 5 hatches before layer.
Yeah, and that's straight into Hydras versus this will probably get the Spire and the Scourge to combat the early Corsairs. But yeah, this is pretty much the standard play on this map.
Yeah, both players are playing textbook PvZ styles here. Things are going to diverge most likely when we get into the mid-game. We'll have to see what kind of lair tech Tempest goes for. And there is always the option to do something sneaky like 3-hatch Hydra.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that,
you can go for the early Hydra aggression.
I like that.
The Forge FE.
Oh, and he actually sneaks 2 Zerglings through. You know, this is not always the best choice. If you have really strong Zergling control and multitask, then obviously getting Zerglings in is great. Like at the Korean level, if you can sneak 2 Zerglings in, that can be game ending. But at CPL level, you know, you have to measure it versus your opponent. If they're just auto-attacking a Zergling or a Zealot at your Zerglings, and you're messing up your build because you're trying to micro this, then it's not worth it.
And yeah, he doesn't have speed, even researching, so that's when the Zerglings get really dangerous.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
He's doing a fine job microing them. It can be a definite APM drain on the Protoss.
Yeah,
send probes around chasing.
One of the key things, Lazersnipe is not able to, you know, pay attention to other things going on, so he's not really trying to get that second scout out, which he might be doing if the Zerglings were in his base. So he might be able to see these Hydras.
I feel like this. Yeah, obviously. We've got Hydra speed about to finish. But we do have cannons coming up. We've got 3 cannons coming up. already.
Yeah, he smells something, which is kind of interesting. You really shouldn't have your standard play just 3 blind cannons, but his sense is telling him that there's something coming. So he's gonna have the Corsair out as well, and that's the tricky spot where, you know, if as a Zerg player you've sent all your Hydras to be aggressive, then your Overlords are completely undefended.
We do. Tempest is doing a pretty good job with these 2 Zerglings, keeping them alive and just being an annoyance.
Yeah,
okay, we have the Corsair spot
alive.
the Hydras.
Oh, that's a big move. Yeah, the Hydras are actually going down there so that they could avoid that Corsair. But
yeah,
he is going to see that. Lots of cannons.
Yeah, 2 more additional cannons. But this could just be well. Okay, he's producing drones again. So.
Oh, Zisagi and Laser are both in chat saying that Laser actually scouted the Hydra den with the first probe. I thought it was pushed out before it saw that, but I guess I was incorrect. So that makes sense why he's actually responding so early.
Okay.
And there's actually drones behind this, which Laser's also going to scout. So this is not an all-in by any means.
Yeah.
4 cannons total means that both players have sort of reacted to each other, and it's just going to stabilize from here.
Okay, yeah, actually he canceled. Oh, we had a Hydra shooting each other for a second. He canceled one of the cannons after he sent the Corsair across and saw the drone production. So obviously, producing a couple Hydras to pressure and force him to build a couple extra cannons can actually be a pretty solid move.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if you can snipe the forward buildings as well. So if you can stop this +1 and kill the gate with only an investment of 6 Hydras, that's pretty good for you.
Okay, and he's doing a good job. He hasn't lost any Hydras when he's positioning them. You can see a lot of people lose Hydras. 2 of them are quite low, but he hasn't lost any. So he should be able to take out the Forge and the gateway, front gateway.
Yep, I would like to see Laser being a little more active with this Corsair. You know, there's only 2 Hydras to defend the entire map of Overlords, and there's Overlords all over to be hunted, and there's no way that they could be defended. So I would have loved to see them getting a couple more kills. Overlord speed is done too, so that does restrict their killing power a little bit.
Man,
he's taking a lot of damage. That is pure drone, and you know, he's got to be a little careful now. We have Zealots pushing out against the 6 Hydras at the front for Laser.
Okay, actually saves the +1 on 100 health on the Forge. He had already built the additional Forge at the back, assuming he would lose it. Yeah, it can be quite dangerous if you're getting too much if you're droning too heavily. A couple extra macro hatches, so he's going up to 6 hatch. So that obviously a ton of droning here sets him up a pretty good macro engine.
Yep, and now there's a DT headed to the 12.
No Overlord.
Yeah, there was an Overlord just popped, but it looks like he went straight to the rally. So as long as Laser doesn't make any noise here by hitting a building, you can kill a lot of drones.
The Corsair, I think the Corsair being there causes it to be noticed.
Yeah, he probably went over there just to look at what was on his map. Still, the DT's getting some damage, stopping landing, killing a bunch of drones. And meanwhile, there's actually Zealots coming in on the front, so a nice little distraction. These could potentially do a lot.
Yeah, no Sunkens here, no like sunken SimCity, and drones purely coming out here.
Yeah, drones production. You know, there's enough Hydras to clean this up, but they're going to take a lot of damage, and these 2 Zealots up in the main are probably going to do a lot of drone kills as well.
Oh, he pulls them pretty quick though. Now they could actually snipe the Spire if he sends a couple more of the Zealots up there.
Yeah, pretty good reaction from Tempest, but you know, just taking a couple of drone kills and disrupting the mining for this much, likely going to lose the Spire.
Could go down.
So this is great damage as well from Lazersnipe. Good read on the stage of the game.
And now we've got like 6 Zealots heading up to the 12 o'clock where there's no Sunkens, 3 hatches. He's been forced to micro around these drones so much that he hasn't actually gotten that much mining done in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, all the bases have been disrupted, and a bunch of drones have been killed. And, you know, Laser's really putting his 113 APM to work, just multi-pronged attacks all over. And Tempest is just taking damage steadily here.
And we do have the 3rd base already coming up with a bunch of cannons. It is scouted by Tempest Overlord.
I would love to see Snipe save these Zealots, but it looks like that is not going to happen, so he's just going to trade them away for some Hydras.
Yeah, we're getting to a pretty interesting spot though, because if these drones get mining and this like zealot aggression ends, we're gonna have a massive production capability of hydralisks in this like mid-game army.
Absolutely, but you know, Snipe already does have his third semi-secure, and I believe he already has Storm.
Yeah, he definitely already has the Templar out, so I assume he's got Storm done because it's not researching.
Yep. So you know that's a decent position, even if your opponent has a lot of drones. When you're on 3 bases of Protoss and you're accumulating Storm energy, then you're pretty good. Looks like Tempest is going to try to get something done with his Hydra Force, and if he can snipe this Templar...
He's only got 2 Templar here. Oh, I'd like to see him space these Hydras.
That's a really good first Storm. Yep, a lot of damage on those Hydras. Second Storm's going to come up here. And the second Storm is decent as well, so that's probably going to be enough with the 4 cannons to keep him alive, but he did manage to lose quite a few of those Zealots. He might actually lose the Forge and still hurt.
But this is only, that was only that wasn't an attack upgrade. It was a, not shield, armor upgrade.
Oh, great point. Yep, using that second forge that was made earlier for the attack upgrade, so that is the really important one. And now there's so many Templar. Laser's army is, what is that, 6 Templar and a Zealot. This is entire army.
Another Templar by the gates. Actually, you know, I mean, it happens to everyone. That's not exact. I mean, he's going to produce a bunch of Zealots to go with it. But technically, you want, you know, a little more Zealot there, because Archons aren't actually that good against the Hydra base, if that's what he's going to turn some of the Templar into. Although there is a bunch of Zerglings out now, so Archons will be good against that. We do have a bunch of Evos coming up in the main for Tempest, so that's good.
Yeah, that's actually really important. You know, it's very common to fall behind on upgrades and just really never get them under control. So I like seeing that he's planning for that. I would love to see a 4th hatch. He actually had a drone in position to take the upper right natural, but it looks like he's changing his mind and heading down to the 9 o'clock.
Okay, and he's getting some Sunkens up at his 3rd to defend it. I guess he's a little worried about another push up there.
Looks like the Corsair... Corsair's managed to get away, so Laser's going to maintain his 2 Corsairs, which is actually really important in terms of scouting and just keeping Overlords at bay.
Yeah. And we've got Observer Speed finishing for Lazersnipe.
I'm really not sure what Tempest is waiting on for his 4th. That drone was in position like a minute ago, and now that he's moved it, he's just putting it down.
I feel like he's sort of at points decided that his 4th was a little late, so he decided to try to push his in both games. He's had his 4th delayed a bit, although he delayed it himself this time, and tried to like push across and like do some sort of attack. Ooh, heavy droning again. So that's good, but he needs to get a base. You know, it's easy to turtle up a natural here.
Yeah,
so
both players are now moving their armies around. I'm a little worried that Snipe's army is way out of position, just making a line across the map. But only going to be engaging just a few Zerglings that get routed into them. So he has the opportunity to get them combined. He's just going to go hard on the 9 o'clock, it looks like, which means all these units in the middle are just going to get swarmed.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting positioning to go for this base.
Yeah, managing to get your army up the ramp before lurkers get in time.
Storm. Massive storm on those lurkers.
Yeah, my god, all those clump lurkers go down, and manages to cancel the 4th. So this is actually very similar to game 1, just the constant delay of the 4th.
Yeah, and massive storms on lurkers.
And
yeah,
massive storms on lurkers.
Lazersnipe storms have been absolutely, not only Hydras, they've been absolutely massacring lurkers throughout these 2 games.
Yeah, and now able to combine reinforcements with that army. It's a very scary army knocking at the front door of Tempest. There's a couple of colonies here, but that's about it.
Yeah, at the front door it seems like we've got as many Overlords as we do attacking units.
Yeah, there's Hive, but there's no Hive tech. So there might be Cracklings, but there's no Defiler that's going to be able to save this.
Nah, Hive just came up, so I don't think there's anything, any Hive upgrades that are even researched.
Yeah, those Zerglings are not cracklings at all. There's almost no lurkers here. There's just like one I see that's not quite burrowed yet. So Tempest is taking a lot of damage, and he hasn't been able to muster enough defense yet. Storms haven't even come into play, and he's just getting rolled over. We have a lot of reinforcements coming as well. Another round of gateway units. This is not looking good for Tempest.
Yeah, this is rough. Once you get to this 2-attack upgraded Protoss army, and you've lost so many units already, like these Dragoons just have a great range. They can take out whatever you've got. You need the Defiler to be stopping them from killing your lurkers. He's trying to take out the Overlords, but there's not even any lurkers left over. So.
Yeah, he's got one lurker coming down, but there is still an observer, and doesn't even get burrowed. So he has definitely lost his natural, and he doesn't really have, you know, enough bases that's something you can shrug off. Losing your natural at this stage means that you're basically crippled.
And it means he's going to lose a bunch of drones here. Yeah, I mean, I think at that point, that was when you start losing macro hatcheries, and the Protoss has the 4th base up at the at the 3. So
now that was really well played by Lazersnipe. I think he just got too far ahead with those initial zealot attacks. Tempest droned a little too hard, and then got punished for it, and wasn't really able to do any damage.
Yeah, and not quite the slugfest that we had, but still a really good EVZ from both sides. Just like you said, a little economic greed kind of cost Tempest there.
That's the macro Zerg curse.